Welcome to Paulette's Paper Play, and as you can see, we're all about chocolate. Can't be anything wrong with this, don't you think? And we've got some wonderful things from Find It Trading, and I've got some fun cards for you. In fact, this is one. And we're going to be talking about doilies and some different ways to use them. And we're also going to be talking about easel cards. So, got lots to share with you. Won't you please come play with us? Okay, well, you're probably aware, Find It Trading, they will come out with an 8x8 book of papers to coordinate with their, they call them push-outs. I tend to call them die cuts because they are. There are 4 sets, and doesn't that work out nicely because I have 4 cards for you. So you can see those, and I'll talk about these a little bit more, but let me show you the papers, and we'll get in closer. There are 16 double-sided sheets in here, and they do duplicate, so you can see those. And on the back side, we've got these big drops of chocolate. We've got some hearts, and I thought these were really interesting. They're printed, but almost looks like a rose gold, and which is going to go nicely with the chocolate, I will tell you. And we've got hearts. And this is also a really fun design. I'll show you what he did with it. We've got sprinkles. These are in just falling. There's another sprinkle set. Doesn't that look yummy? And we've got roses, and then we've got some duplicates. And this is the random sprinkles. And then again, they're going to duplicate. And then at the end, we have, there we go. We have some cutouts. Now, I didn't use any of those, but you certainly could. So you can see the roses again. Oh, there are also these tags, which I did use, and another of the sheets that kind of looks like the rose gold. So that is what you get, 16 double-sided to go with all of the push-out die cuts. So let me go to the first card. And this is our regular 5 by 6.5 inch card. And when I find the push-outs, I feel like I want to make them larger. They're a nice size, but they certainly don't cover the whole card as a focal. So I want to put them on something that's going to make them larger. And with chocolate, how about the craft doilies? I think it just works perfectly. But I also wanted to get them a little bit with a darker something behind them. So I went through all of my papers, my glitters, my so forth, and the mocha suede is just perfect. So you can see that suede against the craft against the chocolate. So I just felt that that was good. But then I went to a lighter look by the patterned paper that I chose, and that's out of the book, obviously. Now this is the Chocolate Bliss set sheet, and as you can see, there's a full image here and a full image here and another full image down here, and then all of the pieces that will coordinate are in a row, so 3 rows. So you can end up with 3 full images, or you can separate these and use them individually if you like. So I'll show you what I did. And as a matter of fact, in this case, I took the number 1, and there is a number on here, pop it out, and I glued it to the craft doily. Then I cut my suede. My suede, I believe it's 4 inches square. And as you know, when you have something square and you turn it on point, you have a diamond magically appearing. And this piece is smaller than the card itself. So as I said, the card is 5 by 6.5, so it's going to be like 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. And when I put this piece down, I did trim the corners because they're going to kind of stick out and not fit into your envelope. So that worked. Now I did take, in fact, this is the sheet I used. I did not use this one, so I did use number 1. I did use number 2. I want to make sure I'm not lying to you. No, I used number 1 and I used number 4. Now number 4 has 2 pieces. And I foam tape those on top of the coordinating art. So this is one piece, this is one piece, and it's going on top of this. I saved one of the images to use on the inside of the card. Now the just for you, because you don't have any greetings here and you don't have any in the papers. So what does that tell us? Well, it says go to your dazzles, of course. And I use the just for you dazzles, and the package has 5 sheets, black, white, gold, silver, and brown. So just for you worked perfectly there. And then I did do a thin line dazzle just on the edge of the paper. And that comes from our thin line primary. This has 6 sheets. They're green, blue, red, brown, yellow, and black. Obviously I used brown. So everything is chocolate, of course. You might want to have some chocolate with you. Maybe that's a requirement. You could have chocolate with you to create the projects. What do you think? I think that's not a bad idea. Also notice that when I put this suede down, it just went to the edge of the paper at the top. That gives you an opening here for your greeting. So even if you want to use a different of the dazzle set. Okay, so on the inside, now I had paper left because the paper's 8 by 8 and this is like almost 5 inches. So I took the piece that was left, trimmed the height, and put it about 1/4 of an inch from the fold. That way it has a continuity from the front to the inside. And just placed it there, put again the brown thin line dazzles around it. Now in this case, I have the suede on top of the doily instead of the suede behind the doily. Okay, just something a little different. Made a smaller square, did attach it to the craft doily, and then did more of the dazzles around the edge of the suede. It's nice to have the suede because you can touch it and pet it. And then this is the number 2. So let me show it to you. Here's the piece that I used. And actually, I did not use this piece. You could certainly foam tape it onto the inside of the card. I just didn't. So I used 1, 3, and 4. So 1, 3, and 4. And this is on the inside, this is on the front, this is to the front, and then this is extra, okay? So I still have that I can use, and that's, you know, that's a full image. I can use that very well all by itself, and then you've got 2 other complete images. Not bad for the price point, so that's good. Okay, so that is our first doily. Now, let's go to our second doily, and that's the card that I showed you in the beginning. And what I like to do, and showed you, maybe you saw it, I hope you saw it, but what I found is that with the white doilies is that you can color them. Now, you can do a couple of different things with them. In fact, let me just show you a little brief demo here. So here's my white doily, and I wasn't sure what color I wanted, so I actually ended up coloring 2 of them. One of them with blush, and one of them with pink petal. Now the pink petal is darker, so I'm going to demonstrate with that just because it will show up a little bit better. But in both cases, I used my craft mat, my blending tool, my blending brush, and I just did this and just went along the outer edge. And I very much like the look of this because it lets you customize your doily however you want. Now, if you want a darker coverage, which is what I did on the pink petal one, you simply go over it. And you can really just go to that edge of the center area pretty easily. So there's a light application, and there's a darker application. Just has to do with how many times you go over it. Super easy. Now what was fun was that I wasn't sure which one I was going to use. And I was kind of, messing around with it. So then I would clean this off. So I'm going to set that aside. And I wanted some solid color. So I chose the Flit and Flutter solid cardstock because it's going to work with all the other colors that I planned on using. So in this case, I used the dark red. There's also a regular red with it, but the dark red was just so lovely, I thought, next to the chocolate look. And this is the paper, and boy, I'm going to remember this because it's got light and dark shadowing going across it, and I think it's just really striking, and I hadn't seen that before. This is the Hunky Dory tent card. So this is the 5x7. Okay, the fold is up here. And as you can see, I scored it. I used the scoreboard and scored it halfway, okay? Because I wanted to, again, this is playing with the doilies and playing with easel. So I'm going to use this as an easel card. Now, with the doilies, so I've got my light one, my blush, and I was actually trying to decide which one I wanted to use, and I ended up offsetting them. And I thought, aha, I have never done that before, and I really like the look. So you can see the one doily is higher than the lighter one, but I thought that worked nicely. And then to make another basically kind of lacy doily look with the circle and scallop cutting dies, and that's gotten off frame, but it's a pretty large one. And that is out of the same thing that I covered the card front with. Well, and I really didn't cover it. I cut two pieces. So let me just show you that. So one piece that is the dark red out of the Flit and Flutter. And then this is a smaller piece. Now notice that the dark red is showing on three sides. It's not showing on this edge, okay? Did the same thing on the bottom section. Okay, so then when I cut out this piece and glued the doilies, now when I glue the doilies down, I'm just gluing the center part. There's no problem with letting these be unglued. So I just offset those, glued those in place, and then I used extra sticky tape, so I'm going to attach the bottom of this to the bottom of the card. That's what you always do on an easel card. I just find that's an easy way to remember it. So then, and I did use the 1/2 inch extra sticky, so it's your choice. I did use a lot of these. This is out of the Baked with Love sheet. And you can see, so there's I'll get my doily out of the way. So I did use the number 1 to go down. Now the other thing about this, let's see, let me get you the one. Okay, here it is full. Now when you pop this out, you will have a white edge. And that's another reason why I think that the white doilies work nicely, because it kind of masks that white edge. So that I used here. In fact, I used all of these pieces and foam taped them over the matching art. So you just follow the numbers, no problem. And down here, the Thinking of You, that came out of the same dazzles that we used in the first card, which is the Just for You. So Thinking of You is part of it. Again, I used the brown, and I thought it really showed up nicely even against the hearts. Okay, so again, you've got all the layers there. But then we're going to go to the inside of our card. And I did the same thing that I did with the last one. I had a piece left over, so I matted it on the dark red and glued it inside the card. Then, so I want to show you the whole piece. So I used all of this on the front one, which I don't usually do, but I did this time. And for the inside, I thought, well, you know, if you've got the full cake here and one piece, why wouldn't you have another piece on the inside? So that would work nicely. So in this case, I only have one doily. Now this is with the blush, so it's much lighter. I did do the same scallop circle using the dies out of the same dark red. And I did use all of these on this guy. So that did a nice job. Now, because it's an easel, you want to have your piece that's going to hold the easel, you want to have it toward the bottom. And so in that case, this is what it would look like if it was sitting on your kitchen counter. And then I've got the Because I Care in the top of it. So thinking of you, because I care, I'm sending you chocolate. Okay, so that is card number 2. Now card number 3 is a little different. And this, let's see, let me get a white paper behind it. I think you can see that well, but there you go. Maybe now you can see it a little bit better. Okay, this is our regular 5 by 6.5 inch card. However, I did a couple of things to it. And don't worry, I've got a download for you. In fact, the download looks like this. So there's the card. And then there is this piece that goes right here. So we've got on one sheet. So you can see that download. It will be on the next to the, or with the instructions. You'll just see there's a download. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to turn this over so you can see it. There you go. Okay, so here's my fold. This is my 6.5 inch edge. So I measured down 2.5 inches on each side, made a mark, and then I made a mark for the center of the card, and I simply drew a line and then cut along that line. So you've got this interesting shape, okay? That's all I did. Oh, there's one other thing. Although this is 6.5 inches wide, I made it 6 inches. So 6 inches by 5, go down 2.5 inches, make 2 marks, make a mark in the center, draw a line, and cut it. Okay, now turn it over, and then you can cover the top part. Now this is the speckles that are straight, so I have them just completely covering that section. Then I cut out the shape I showed you here, which is this shape. So it's kind of a squishy diamond. And that became my piece for right here. And in this case, I went with blues because I had done browns and I had done pinks. So you see, a lot of thought goes into these, creating these for you. And so I cut it out of the blue, out of the Flit and Flutter. And then, as you know, if you take a square and turn it on point, it becomes a diamond. So I went back to this piece and I used my square cutting dies. This is obviously the scallop piece. And I cut this same paper into a square and glued it on top. Okay, now the these that I'm going to use, this is the sugar treats, and I'm using all of those. And obviously, number 1 is going to get foam taped on top of this. Now, there's something else going, well, let's see. What should I will tell you. Okay, so this has the number 1, and then it has number 4. 3 and 4 right here. So this is 1 and then this is together. Okay. The happy birthday comes from our tiny words and phrases. And there are 4 colors in here: black, white, gold, and silver. Black, white, gold, and silver. So happy birthday. And every now and again, I have someone ask me, why would you use words that are so tiny? Well, this is exactly why. Because your imagery is taking up most of the space, but you still want to have a greeting. And so that's what I used, is the white happy birthday. Also, I used the thin line dazzles. Boy, I used those a lot, didn't I? And I do. This is the colorful set, which I think we used earlier. And you can see how it's going around. Now, something I did, and we're going to get in super close, is that that little scallop, there are several layers in the dazzles. That's actually 2. And it happened because when I lifted it up, I got 2 at the same time, and I put it down and I thought, well, that looks pretty good. So it just made it a thicker line, which I liked. So I offer that to you. And obviously those are blue jewel dazzles that I put, you can see there's one there. And I did use the jewel picker to pick those up and place them. When you're doing the jewel picker, you just want to, there's a thin end and a wider end. Maybe I'll do the wider end just for demonstration. And you want to just push down and kind of wiggle it a little bit, and then it will lift up, and then you can place it just as effortlessly as I just did. Okay, neat tool. Now, speaking of tools, my friend, okay, now let me show you how I did it. I'm going to go back to a previous card where there is whipped cream in the art, and that way I can just show you what I did. So Light and Fluffy from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm going to use one of our pokey tools. These come 2 in a package, and open this up. Now this is going to air dry, so you want to make sure to keep that lid on this when you're not using it. And Light and Fluffy, well, what do you think? It is light and fluffy. And all I did, it's just so easy. So I lifted some and I put it over the art. And you can just be as, you can put it in little drops, or you can, you know, do a whole schmuck of it. That's not really a word, is it? But a whole blob of it, how's that? And if you have already attached something with foam tape, you might want to kind of fill in the edges. But look how that's looking already. And it's just easy, easy, easy. And you're going to get this bright white color. Now you can color this with ink pads, but that is for another webisode. Okay, so you can just sculpt it if you want to. And probably the hardest thing to remember is do not close this card or set it someplace where you're going to put your elbow in it, because you do want to let it dry. It does not take long. I actually haven't timed it, but I would think it's less than an hour. So look, and it's just fun. Then you're just going to scoop it. And you saw how little I used. So this is going to go a long, long way. I will be showing this as snow later in the season. So Light and Fluffy, cover, you know, make sure you have the lid on it. And there you go. You have got whipped cream in addition to snow. So that's what I did right there. Now we're going to go on the inside. Oh, I forgot to tell you, with the dazzles on the corners, I also did a big one in the corner and then 2 medium-sized ones on each side. Now I know you don't see all of them when this is closed, but trying to just place them where you would only see the ones, I just felt better putting all 3 of them on each corner. Okay, now we're going to go to the inside. Covered it with the blue out of the Flit and Flutter, another piece, and what works nicely is you've got the pattern now, so you can just cut this and then just trim each of the sides. Going back to the square dazzles, so doing another one out of the same light blue. And then this is another of the pieces. Yes. Okay. Let me show it to you in one fell swoop. Yes, so here's the whole package. And then, so this is the one that's on the front. And then I used this piece on top of it. And because I was going to do the whipped cream, I didn't add the other pieces. Okay. Then on the inside, I turned that square into a diamond. And then I used the number 2 piece, and then the number 4 pieces. But I also used my Light and Fluffy, because once you get started, you're just going to use it a lot. Happy Thoughts is from the same tiny words and phrases. And this is still the same dazzle set. And this is 2 dazzles here. So there's one straight line and then one that's a little scallop. So again, use 2 to finish that. So that worked out nice. So this is the sprinkles that are straight on the paper, and then I also use the sprinkles that are random. So mix that with the flit and flutter. That worked well for me. Now I want to make sure that I don't put a card on top of my other whipped cream. And let me show you the last project, which I'm very happy with. Remember that paper that looked like dripping chocolate? Well, I had to use it. I just had to use it. And I felt like it would be better on a slimline card. So this is a slimline tent card, also from our Hunky Dory friends. And so I took the sheet and cut it down to be smaller than the card. And I do that when elements in the card itself, in the design itself, are going to be white. So I knew I would be doing the light and fluffy. So I cut this to be smaller than the card. Then I took another piece of it and cut out just the drips. Okay, and I foam tabbed that in place. Okay, are you wanting to know what the sparkle is? I think you are, so I should probably address that now. It is my dear friend 3D Crystal Lacquer. What I loved is that when I squeezed this on, I was pretty sure it would stay where I squeezed it. It doesn't spread, which is wonderful because you can do this. So all I did was squeeze it. You can kind of see how I just squeezed it. See, it's not, there's nothing there, there's just the paper. I squeezed it down, went up, down, went down, just like that. And then I let it set. Now, this was late at night, so I went to bed. So I did let it sit overnight, and it just, I wasn't sure if I would have to do another layer. I did not. One time worked perfectly. I just love it. Okay, now, then I went into my, although I did plan this first, this is Cookie Delights. So you can see this has got hot cocoa, hot chocolate all over the place. And I took the middle one, so it looks like this. That's the whole sheet. And I pulled out this one, and I foam taped in place. Then I took, remember I told you in the book that there were the tags in there? And I don't always use those tags, but this was perfect. So I cut out this one with those hearts that I think are so striking, and tucked it under and glued that down in place. Okay. Then I added the number 4, which is this one, and which is the foam and the cookie, and foam taped those in place. I used the We're Together More Colors. Actually, I used a pink first, and I couldn't, it didn't show up very well. So I pulled this and used the brown, obviously, and got hugs. But I did use the pink thin line, which is sold individually, around the edges, because pink just does such a nice job with chocolate. So that after I did all of this, I just let it go from right here around the edge. And then I did my light and fluffy piece right there. And I let this part, let me show you. Okay, I think you can see it here. This is kind of like the steam of the hot chocolate. So I let that be. I could have covered it with the light and fluffy. I didn't. I just left that in the middle. Okay, so that is my card front. My card inside, this is the other paper that has those drops of chocolate. Did the exact same thing, cut it down, and I used the crystal lacquer, same exact way. Isn't that fun? You can touch it, and but then I wanted something to really reinforce one of the other images. So I used the Flit and Flutter. Again, you can see how the colors work so well. The dark reds, the light or the bright pinks, the blues, all just worked well. So I used the 5 elliptical cutting dies. I used the middle one. It says in the directions how wide that is. And I die cut that out of the pink to match my pink borders. And then this is the number 2 image. And foam taped the number 3 on top. Added another of the cutout little tags and put Love You on top from the same dazzle sheet. And did my light and fluffy again right there. And so I have my drippy, yummy chocolate. Does that not just make your mouth water? And then the drops of chocolate on the inside, all of them is shiny and smooth. Okay, so it was, excuse me, it was really fun to play with these and to come up. And I think that what I love doing, and I guess you already know this, is I love bringing different elements together. And with the Find It Trading, even though they have the papers, it's nice to bring all of these other things with them. The suede, the doilies, the light and fluffy, the crystal lacquer, just lots of different things with the cutting dies. Just makes everything very fun to play with. Okay, so that's what I have for you. So recapping, we have sweet moments. Well, all of it is sweet moments. And then we have the 4 different collections that I have spread all over this table. And let's see, 3, 4, there they are. Okay, now I did do a money saver for you. And I did, in that money saver, I put the Flit and Flutter because I was so pleased by having all of these colors coordinate. And so that just works out nicely. So if you are interested in that, it is on the right-hand side of your screen, and you will get a discount for that. So that's fun. I do like having Find It Trading. I think the price point is just quite excellent. More importantly, actually, is the creativity that you can do with them. So that's really fun. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, please like us. Subscribe to YouTube, but for goodness sakes, get on over to paperwishes.com. Many of these products are only available here, so we want to share them with you. And also that money saver, so that will be good. And I do appreciate your time and that you come to Paulette's Paper Play. I think I'm living up to the name. I hope you think so too. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if chocolate is also one of the food groups, I think you will agree, and it's certainly worth snacking on while you're creating. Thank you for joining us and for being the best part of paperwishes.com. Bye-bye.